What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Today we're gonna watch a good cop get a bad cop, get arrested, and maybe get thrown in jail. We'll see.
Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers use of force, officer obstruction, and official misconduct, and is brought to us by Cameras Everywhere's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On July 26, 2021, Officer David Lance Dukes of the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety responded to a call regarding a man banging on a townhouse door, allegedly with a gun in his waistband. When he arrived on the scene,
He's probably the snake.
Officer Dukes immediately drew his gun and ordered 58-year-old disabled man Clarence Gaillard and his cousin Mario Julian, who were standing in the parking lot outside the townhouse, to the ground.
Hey, let me see your hands. Bert, get on the ground. Get on the ground. Get on the ground right here. Get on the ground. You, burgundy shirt, get on the ground. Over here. On the ground. On the ground. Get on the ground.
He's mad scared. Like, why be a cop if you're gonna be that scared? That's what gets people shot. Like, because they be so scared and ready to pull the damn trigger. Like,
Do you not listen? Get on the ground.
Mr. Gaillard attempts to comply with Officer Dukes' orders by getting onto his hands and knees, but Officer Dukes forcefully uses his foot to attempt to force Mr. Gaillard all the way to the ground, causing his head to violently hit the pavement. In the
How is that legal? Like, how in your mind you thinking like this, what I'm doing right now, picking my leg up 3 feet in the air and smashing it down on the man's head? How is that legal? How do you
1989
think
case of
that's
Graham
legal?
versus Con. However, at the time Officer Dukes used force against Mr. Gaillard, it was clear that he did not pose an immediate threat, as he had raised both of his empty hands above his head before getting on his hands and knees. Finally, Mr. Gaillard was not resisting arrest in any way. In fact, he was attempting to comply with Officer Dukes' commands when the force was employed. Under these circumstances, it is highly likely that a court would conclude that Officer Dukes' use of force against Mr. Gaillard was neither justified nor reasonable.
Is there a gun back there? By that truck.
No gun.
You're not listening, dude.
He had his hands in the air. What else? You could tell he's 60. Now you're gonna disrespect him by throwing all his stuff on the floor.
I'm just asking.
No gun. No.
Turn back over. Paul, do you watch him say? He had something.
What? He had a gun?
No, he was right
You
here.
don't see a gun.
Watch him. Go watch him. There it is.
You found a gun? It's a gun? Is it?
That's what he had.
It's a duct tape stick. Or a drumstick with duct tape on it. I don't know. Could be a piece of chicken
All right,
duct
who's the
tape.
complainant? All right, get up. Get him up. 25 cents. Got one time.
Put your leg that way.
He shouldn't even be detained. Like,
Listen, I'm about to help you. Hold on. Hold on. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right.
Yep.
Listen.
Yep, they slammed my head
Listen.
down on the cement. Yep.
Go back inside. Go back in the house. Go back in the house. Ain't nobody talking to you.
I got head trauma.
Go back in the house.
Yep. Y'all bust my head down. Yeah, I've been in an accident. Yep. Y'all bust my head down. You throw me down.
I sure did. You
and-
wasn't listening.
Yep. No, it ain't. You ain't to throw me down like that.
you hear how he's throwing the bug in everybody's ear? Yep, you wasn't listening. This is not listening, I guess. I guess your hands up in the air isn't listening.
I'm disability.
Okay.
I got head problem. Yup, you throw me down. Yup, you throw me down. You throw me down. Yup, you bust my head down on the cement. Yup, you bust my head.
All right, let me tell you what.
That's forehead.
You bust my head down on the cement.
He was in front of the car when I came up. And he was walking like
Watch
that.
him lie.
And I thought it was a gun at first. I said, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. Had him at gunpoint. He's over here doing something like this.
You slam my head. You slam my
What
head
he was doing is
down.
putting this up behind the tire. So he comes over right here. He got his hands in his pockets. I'm telling him, let me see your hands, let me see your hands, let me see your
Why you
hands.
bust my head?
He's
He
lying.
wasn't listening.
No, it ain't.
He got the, like this right here,
You grab me.
and we went onto the ground.
You bust my head.
Officer Dukes claims that when Mr. Gaillard was walking from behind the white vehicle, he believed that he had a gun and repeatedly told him to drop it. Officer Dukes also alleges that once Mr. Gaillard stepped in front of the vehicle, he had his hands in his pockets and repeatedly ignored requests to show his hands. However, the body cam footage shows that Mr. Gaillard actually had his hands above his head, and that while Officer Dukes repeatedly screamed at Mr. Gaillard to get on the ground, he never asked him to drop a gun or show his hands, likely because Mr. Gaillard's hands were visible throughout the encounter. An incident
If there wasn't body cams, he would have got away with this. He probably even could have been able to pop him one time and got away with it. Thank God for these damn body cams.
report filed by Corporal Brandy Smith, who was also on the scene, states that while Mr. Gaillard was walking from the passenger side of the vehicle, he appeared to have his hands in his pockets, but that once he reached the front of the vehicle, he took his hands out of his pockets. Corporal Smith's report also states that Officer Dukes was giving loud verbal commands for Mr. Gaillard to get on the ground, but makes no mention of a gun or any commands to drop a gun or show his hands. It's also important to note that when Officer Dukes was reporting what happened, he did not explain the method he used to take Mr. Gaillard down. Corporal Smith's report claimed that when Mr. Gaillard did not get completely on the ground, Officer Dukes pushed him to the ground by placing his right foot on the middle of Mr. Gaillard's back. However, the incident report filed by Sergeant Aquel Polador states that Officer Dukes, quote, jumped up and stomped Mr. Gaillard on the back of his neck with his foot. Although it is unclear from the body camera footage whether Officer Dukes' foot landed on Mr. Gaillard's neck or upper back, it is certain that the version of events Officer Dukes explained to his commanding officer did not align with the body camera footage or the reports filed by his colleagues.
That's on the cement. Because my
Yeah,
forehead.
your head did hit the cement.
Right, cause you.
Yo, that's so annoying. Like,
Where's the complainant?
You bust my head down.
he acts like it's nothing.
Right here?
Yo, it really pisses me off. Like,
Where's the complainant?
I'm trying to get the name of the complainant.
You
So
bust my head.
What are we doing? I guess Sam was going to check him out.
Ain't nothing about here want to press charges on.
Who called?
I'm not sure.
Take him out of cuffs right now. I mean, because that's what we
You
got.
have to use your force.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Slam my head down.
Dude, I didn't know what his
You
intention
use
was.
the force. You need to look your camera.
All right.
The officer did wrong. Slam my head down. Bust my forehead. Damn right. You gonna pay me for that?
Mayor, I'm going to take that into evidence.
for
he
what?
had.
A stick with duct tape?
What?
Oh,
I mean,
exactly.
it's, you know, that's the reasons I did what I did. You know
It
what
wasn't even in his hands.
where I'm coming from.
No gun or nothing.
Because when he was behind the truck, I couldn't see what he was doing. And I didn't know where
There ain't nothing there.
that
Exactly.
went. If it was still in his pockets when he come around that car with his hands in his pockets.
These doors on.
Got it on camera.
Yeah, my
All
doors
right, that's
stick.
fine.
He just want to have it so he can have some kind of evidence,
Doors
like,
stick.
so that it could be justified.
Take him out of handcuffs.
Exactly. Take him out of cuffs.
Yeah, he can come out.
Now that's a lawsuit on your dumb ass. This really pisses me off because when I used to live in New York, every day, at least 5 times a day, the police would stop me and search us every single day. It was never a day where I didn't get stopped, frisked, searched, all that. They even violate you and put their hands in your damn drawers and stuff like that. And it's not all the police that do this, but it's just like the bad ones make it look bad for the good ones.
go let you want me to check you out?
You mind looking? Hi. Good, how are you? What's going on?
Officer slammed me before he's down in the cement.
Exactly.
In the wrong place.
Yep.
You process this?
Yeah. Listen.
Can I get a card from you?
I don't have one now. We
Okay,
don't have
what's your
they
badge?
don't give us cards.
Okay, what's your badge number?
1059.
Let me see if I can get my phone. Hold on.
Hold on, we have cards. Okay. Thank
Wow. When Mr. Julian, look at that face.
asks Officer Dukes for a business card,
Look at
Officer
that
Dukes
face.
claims they are not issued cards by their department. However, Sergeant Poldador immediately corrects Officer Dukes, states that they do have cards, and provides Mr. Julian with the information he requested. If it was concluded that Officer Dukes intentionally lied to Mr. Julian in an attempt to avoid accountability for his actions, it is possible.
If she wasn't there, he would have never gave her a card, or he would have never received the card. That's crazy. See, he's trying to get away with this little
Possible
crime
that he
he
could be
did.
convicted of 2 common law crimes under South Carolina law: obstruction of justice and official misconduct.
So and she gave him a look too, like something fishy going on. Why he keep waving? Like
1059.
After Mr. Gaillard was treated by EMS, he and Mr. Julian were allowed to leave. 2 days after the incident, Officer Dukes was fired from the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety for violating the department's use of force policies, which, as stated before, are not publicly available. On August 25, 2021, former Officer Dukes was charged with first-degree assault and battery, which could carry a sentence of up to 10 years in prison. As of the date of this episode, Mr. Gaillard is represented by an attorney, but he has not yet taken any legal action against Officer Dukes or the department. Overall, former Orangeburg Officer Dukes gets an F for physically assaulting Mr. Gaillard for no apparent reason, blatantly lying about the nature of the interaction in his police report, and for calm, collected, and professional attitude throughout the interaction. Although it cannot be proven with any degree of certainty, I suspect that Sergeant Polador was highly involved in the Orangeburg Department's decision to fire and charge Mr. Dukes, and the testimony that she offered in her incident report likely played a vital role in making certain that he was held accountable for his actions. Officer Gaillard and Mr. Julian, I cannot rightfully issue a grade to individuals whose actions were purely dictated by the conduct of the officers on the scene. Nothing the pair did was uncivil, and the two obeyed all the commands of the officers to the best of their ability without knowing the context of the encounter. It could certainly be argued that both Mr. Gaillard and Mr. Julian were both victims of police misconduct, one by way of physical violence and the other by an attempt to avoid accountability. It should be noted that Mr. Julian made...
y'all see, that was most of the video. Yo, if y'all ever get pulled over by a cop or get stopped by a cop and they telling you to put your hands up and this and that, even if you're in the right, just comply, don't tense up, and just obey what he says so you can avoid to get stomped in the back of the neck like Mr. Gaillard. And see y'all in the next one. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe.